and welcome everybody. We are so excited that you are here today. We would love it if you can take just a quick minute and type into the comments where you are from and where are you watching from, what year you graduated, if you are a graduate of CSU. If you are not, that is okay. You can still write where you are from. But either way, we are so excited that you are here today with us tonight. And celebrating CSU, as well as hearing about the information that is coming out of CSU Spur campus. Also, I would like to take a quick moment to thank all of our Alumni Association members tonight. Without you, we would not be able to put events on like this. So thank you so much for your membership. If you are ever interested in membership, we will be posting something in the comments in just a few moments that direct you to our membership page and talk about all of our annual fees, as well as what a member does with the CSU Alumni Association. Don't forget to also subscribe to all of our other events that are coming up on our YouTube channel or through our StreamYard channel. I will post that in the comments in just a few moments as well. This way you can hear about all of the other Spur events that we've done, as well as all of the other series that we've done with the Alumni Association. And on that note, I have the wonderful pleasure of introducing Martha Weidman, as well as Ashley Stiles tonight, who will be doing the presentation. Martha is the CEO of 9.arts, and Ashley is the CEO of Tribe Development. So without further ado, feel free to take it away.
Well, hi, everyone. Great to see you here tonight. And I thought I'd first just give a quick introduction and then pass it over to Ashley, and then we'll get started with the presentation that we've put together for you about Spur and the exciting artwork and developments that are happening at the National Western Complex. So before we get started, I know you all are putting into the comments where you're from, if you're a CSU grad. And one of the things that came up in some of our early stage conversations about CSU and working on this project was, well, how did you get involved? So I am a CSU grad. I graduated in 2005, and I have a degree in fine arts and communications. And actually, when we went into interview for this project, we were interviewing with a woman named Tiana Nelson at the time was her last name. And she and I worked together at the Collegian. So my friends from CSU are some of the best friends that I have, also my lifelong friends. I'm originally from a small town on the Gulf of Mexico in Alabama. And when I left at 18 and moved to Colorado, I formed a whole new batch of friends in Ingersoll in the dorms. And I thought just for fun, I could share with you a really quick photo of my CSU friends. Here's us celebrating a wedding this past weekend. This is my husband and I. We met at CSU. Lisa and Mike also met at CSU, and Rachel and George met at CSU. And we were all in the dorms together at Ingersoll. And there's our 20 years later prom photo reenactment. So kind of fun, and just thought I would share that as a little bit of personal history and connection before we get started. And I'll pass it over to Ashley.
Love it, Martha. So Ashley Stiles, I'm the CEO of Tribe Development, and I'm a consultant for the CSU system office on the Spur campus. And so I've been helping with the placemaking and the public engagement portions of the project for the last several years. And excited to be here. Also an alum, also met my husband at CSU. So if it isn't doing anything, join the Alumni Association for appreciation of finding our partners in life. I will give a shameless plug for Corey. I'm a lifetime Alumni Association partner, and I encourage everyone to do it. There's a ton of value in being part of the CSU RAM family past graduation. So I'm excited to be here and to talk to you all about the art as part of the Spur campus. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Well, CSU, the home of relationship development, creativity, a great ag school, construction school, and also a great place to learn and study about art. So one question that I have, and feel free to just throw it in the comments, but does anyone know any of our public sculptures on campus at CSU, any of our public art? If you know any public art on campus, throw it into the chat. I'm just curious to know if you've seen things on campus or remember things being there when you were a student. And before we start, I'll tell you one quick story, a fun fact about public art on the campus. At the university, we have a Warhol soup can. So made by Andy Warhol, one of his large-scale soup can sculptures. It is now on display in front of the new arts building on let's see, that would be the east side of College, that new extended campus that used to be the high school. And that art piece is now displayed in that front lawn in the public area. When I was a student, the Andy Warhol soup can was a bit of an urban legend or a CSU legend, and it was stored on the building of on the campus of the Visual Arts building underneath a giant tarp. So we all went late one night and lifted the tarp up to look. And yes, it is totally true. CSU has an amazing collection of Warhols, and in particular, one giant tomato soup can that is larger than life. It's about 12 feet high and about 5 feet in diameter, and is an exact replica of his tomato soup can series in a large sculpture. So very cool. So taking that history of what we have learned about art and culture at CSU, we really wanted to think about how to bring context to this new site at the National Western Center. And as we jump into this introduction, I'd love to have Ashley kick us off at this intro stage to talk just a little bit about what this campus is, what's happening there, and then I'll jump into how the art fits in context of this overall campus.
Perfect. Thanks, Martha. And Corey, I don't think that we can see the chat, so just yell at us if there's things that we need to answer. So I apologize if we can't see you in the chat. So you may all be aware a little bit about the background and the campus and what we're serving, but I'll give just a really high-level overview of Spur. So we have 3 buildings that make up the Spur campus. Each with a focus, one on water, one on food, and one on animal and human health. And within each of those buildings, we'll see world-class research and development happening, partnerships with external organizations like the Salazar Center for Policy, Denver Water, and Dumb Friends League, as well as many others. And you may also know that this isn't necessarily a degree granting campus, but this will be a place that's really geared to the K through 12 experience and allowing people access to all of the different research and science on display that will be part of this project. So in Vita, for example, which is our first building to open in January, we have a partner with Dumb Friends League, and you will be able to see vets in action. And if you so choose, you can see animals undergoing surgery. I will probably opt out, but I will go upstairs and watch some of the equine assisted therapies that happen with the Temple Grandin Center, as well as the work that the CVMBS is doing in the equine sports medicine arena. And that's where you would see a horse like on a submerged treadmill. So many different things that you can interact with and understand from both a career objective, as well as just our connection to each of these things as CSU and faculty and staff try to solve really large, complex global problems. We've taken it and really broken it down to ways in which we can each access them. So again, that's the Vita building, which is our animal and human health building, opening in January, so in time during the stock show. So please come and visit us. And then we will have the Terra building that's focused on agriculture and food, open in April. And then the Hydro building, which is the water building, will be open in November of 2022. So all very quick, but we're excited to host everybody and to have you guys come and interact with all of the exhibits and the science.
Awesome. So for context today, we wanted to talk a little bit about what an art plan is and how it gets used to enhance community and culture in spaces like the National Western Center and Spur at the National Western Center campus. So an art master plan really helps to put together vision, purpose, and set aside some goals that we want to accomplish with some large scale monumental artworks and perhaps even interactive artworks on the site. So at Spur, the vision was really to bring visitors closer to the intersection of food, water, and animal health. And human health, because truly our human health is tied into the health of our food systems, our water systems, and the way that we engage with our natural environment. So that was really important to thinking of the vision of how we can open up pathways or gateways and opportunities for people to see or think differently. So the purpose here for this particular plan was to put together some guidelines, and we had some great contributors in this process. So 9.Arts documented and collated this information. We were also working with Ashley at Tribe Development, the architects Anderson Mason Dale and Horde Copland Mocht, CAA Icon. Of course, the Colorado State University system played a huge role in this. The architects at Smith Group, Clark Anderson Partners, and a handful of other volunteers who were able to bring these research elements to life. So allow me to just quickly talk about some of the importance of art and why it's important to integrate art and culture into places like the National Western Campus and the Spur campus at National Western Center. So in a survey of business leaders across commercial real estate sectors, 70% said it's absolutely critical that art is integrated into the vision from an early stage so that architects, designers, and project owners know how art is going to play a role and how culture is going to play a role at the site. Also, over almost everyone, so 92% of the people surveyed said art installations elicit positive feedback. And what we found is that art becomes this way to create a sense of place and especially to tie back to the community. So tying back to the community became one of the core pillars when we were looking at values of how we were going to select artists for this particular project. So before we began with public calls, we set up some goals and selection criteria. So we put together a summary of where the artwork was going to go, budget breakdowns, the type of research that we were going to perform to understand the artists we were looking for, and then establish some selection criteria. And in those selection criteria, we came up with these 4 pillars that we would rank artists against. So these were the categories of innovation. So artworks high in innovation would show new ways of thinking. So different uses of materials, locations, or ways to connect with artwork in a public setting. And this was very important in showing particularly how CSU was really at the forefront of technology in this convergence of food, water, and animal health and research at an international level. Engagement, and artworks high in engagement are works that generally might include some participation. So artworks that include the audience in the vision, in concept development, or even as the artwork is created or fabricated. The next one is imagination. So artworks that are high in imagination might use play, delight, surprise, entertainment, creativity, critical thinking, or just generally evoking a sense of curiosity and helping people think outside the box. And lastly, relevance. So artworks featuring relevant references to the historic site, land use, cultural history, and in particular, the surrounding community here at the Spur campus, which is Aurea Swansea. So those artworks really help to reinforce authenticity, a sense of identity, and engage the local neighborhood. in building out a plan, we were looking at artwork typology. So you're looking at on this page what looks like such a small little dot on the map, but in real life, we're looking at a 3-building site across the street, and then you see the plat that's on the left. You see the river and Betty Cram Drive going through. So we started with a big plan of artwork typology. So where is artwork going to go, and what's the purpose of each of these installations? That means having artwork that's a landmark scale. This is going to be a big visual announcement that, hello, you have arrived. In particularly, we have a big visual landmark at the corner of the animal health building. And Ashley has to remind me of the names because I know everything's been updated since we wrote this.
So that's Vita.
Thank you. And
Welcome.
so the Vita building is going to really anchor this long passageway that you'll come down as a pedestrian, and it will mark the first time that you see the Spur campus at the National Western Center. So this one will really make an impact. And then we have outdoor plaza. So we have a couple of plaza areas at the location just across Betty Cram Drive when you're first entering this location of 2 Spur campus buildings, and then an underpass area where you can have an open plaza. You'll see this really cool mural that's been designed in there. And then lastly, in the space that was being coined the backyard, you'll see a large-scale outdoor installation that really brings out elements of play. So figuring out ways to surprise and delight large groups that might be coming here and taking a break from a big tour, or people who work on campus that want to go outside and enjoy their lunch or get a little breath of fresh air during the middle part of their day. So we start here with this bigger plan of typology. Where is art going to go? What's the purpose it's going to serve? And what are the criteria with which we are selecting?
Hey, Martha, it looks like we had a question about how many people we had on the committee when we were looking to choose the artwork.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I remember the exact number. If you do, that's great.
There were 8 people on the committee. So that's a great question, because when we're working with state level projects, there are requirements to include people at the statewide level. So we had senators, we had a representative from the Denver Art Museum, we had architects, we had representatives from the CSU Spur system, and then we had a couple of guides like Ashley and I who represent the art and placemaking community and CSU in helping to drive the vision forward. So it's a preset required number of attendees that represent different factions of the state and different factions of the project. And another interesting fact about these public calls is that they also have to be announced publicly. So we did a press release, there was a media pitch, and on the news, we had this public call for artists going out. We had hundreds of artists apply from all over the world in a competitive process for these main locations at the Spur campus. So here you'll see some of the renderings of the campus, those main locations where artwork is going to go. And I think I'll just point these out, one being the bridge. This is really a visual terminus or a visual icon that shows you've arrived at the Spur campus. We have the northeastern plaza and facade of the Vita building. And then we talked earlier about that backyard space. And then the entry as you arrive into CSU from that plaza from the National Western Center. So these locations became our main spots for this call for entry. So Ashley, feel free to add any commentary as I go through, but I'll just quickly breeze through these locations because I think it will add some context when people start to see the art.
Absolutely. We have such better pictures now of the hydro building.
We sure do. This building is so cool. It's based on the study of water. And the artist that was selected for this location is Jason Bruges. He's out of the UK. And his installation is pretty unique in that he is using a faceting system with digitally integrated responsive technology. So these are going to be light up circular structures that you'll be able to see both inside the passageway, both inside this bridge, and externally. If you're driving or walking through this campus, you'll be able to see this installation during the daytime or during the nighttime, because they are light emitting sculptures. And the cool thing about the sculptures themselves is that they reference back to some agricultural history. You can see, the irrigation patterns of crops in this circular structure. Circles also being one of the foundational shapes that connect humans. And then the patterns on the sculpture will shift based on temperature, humidity, and other natural surrounding data points. So you'll be able to see things that are directly influencing our food systems and our water systems in this display that will be a real-time reflection of things like air quality, temperature, and humidity.
Martha, I'll add, so as we've worked with Jason and his team, it's been a really amazing process. One, because it's such a great marriage of art and the science of what's happening on campus. And so we've connected Jason to Jen Busolo, who is running all of our greenhouses and is part of the College of Agricultural Sciences in the Fort Collins campus. And we're actually going to be using data from the greenhouses and the green roofs of this building to populate all of the information that's happening within each of these dials, if you will. And so exactly what Martha was saying. So depending on what time of year, if it's a really hot day, if we have moisture, all of those will be in real time sending out different information that allows these to light up. And so every time you come, the experience with this piece will be different, which was important to us, as well as we were kind of thinking about how do we make sure we've got a lot of repeat visitation and different learning opportunities. And so this is one that we're incredibly excited about, as it will be different in the morning and then in the afternoon. So it will be different constantly. So it's been a lot of fun of being able to match them up and that connection again between art and science.
So you'll see here the way that this piece will be installed. There'll be 180 of these nodes spread across the 5 bays. And you're actually looking at an elevated sky bridge that's connecting 2 buildings on the 2nd floor. So, typically you'll be a little bit lower when you're looking at this from the pedestrian zone on the street level. And then you'll be eye level with them if you're walking through this sky bridge. So it's just a very dynamic installation and very engaging, that you'll have different experiences at different times of day, and then also from different viewpoints, depending on what position you're in when you see it, if you're on the street level or if you're on the sky bridge level. It was fun to work with Jason because his proposal was so thorough in terms of how he put together the engineering practice. So any of you who might be joining in on the call who love engineering and sciences, maybe if you're geared that direction more than arts, you can probably appreciate the bespoke printed circuit board, as he calls it, the PCB, showing the 108 addressable LEDs that are within each of these rings. Here you can see his prototype in development. And then his first iteration of the prototype as it's getting mocked up. So it's pretty cool to have these artists involved at this stage of the game because these buildings, have not yet opened and some of them are still in well into the construction process. So having these artists involved early on allow for really seamless structural integration, as well as appropriate electrical blocking, structural support to make these monumental artworks a success.
Martha, do we have one that has a dimension with the diameter of each of the dials we were just asked?
Let's see.
You have to love it because they are based in London, so you get things and then you're like, how many inches is that? Okay, so
Everything's in meters and centimeters. So
yes,
the larger support disc is 5. That doesn't. I'm looking at these, and I think that they come out to about 10 on the inner ring and 12 on the outer.
On the outer.
Yeah.
That doesn't. Yeah.
Inches.
That sounds, yeah.
Inches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you guys have been watching our Spur website, you should have just seen or follow us on social media. We just set the bridge, which was a pretty exciting day last week. So the bridge is in place, which means we're a few steps closer to having this piece installed.
Mm-hmm. So here you can just see some of these prototypes and testing is coming together. And of course, the big full reveal yet to come in the future. And can't wait for Ashley to lead us through a tour when it's all ready to see in real life. So look forward to showing this to you all when you are able to visit the site. And here's just some of these examples of how the structural loads are measured to make sure that these pieces will withstand the test of time. Here we are.
Go.
Great. So here we've got, thank you, 8 foot 6 feet high. So you can see the installation goes down as low as about 2 feet 9 with intention. So that someone who is in a wheelchair or someone who maybe is a child or shorter in stature can have a really engaging experience with this artwork at eye level, the same as someone who is taller. And so you can see within that perspective of 2.9, yeah, those are about 10 inches. You can see them and how they're put together in between these beams in each of the openings of the windows. Ashley, do you know if they have shipped any of these over yet?
We have not received the sample yet, but we're hoping to, I think, well, definitely, I think by the end of next week, actually.
Okay, excellent. It's been a little tricky to ship things from other countries because just like everything else, our loading docks in the US are very full. And so it's been a bit of a challenge to get things in from other countries so that we can get our testing equipment in. The great news is that we have been able to use Zoom to get fabrication updates and also to do all of the interviews with the artists. Typically, when we're doing public art interviews, we're flying people in. During this particular interview process, we were in the midst of a global pandemic, so everyone was dialing in and Zooming in, which was a new experience for everyone on the committee. But overall, I think was quite successful in that it democratized the jurying process and really opened the playing field to people not only in Colorado, but outside of Colorado as well, who had interesting international perspectives to bring to the table. And this is just another example of the content sources coming in. Like Ashley was saying, the greenhouse will read into a content source, the green roof, and then the weather API. So just integrating things like soil temperature, soil moisture, sun radiance, and providing some ongoing patterning in the lights based on the data of the weather and outdoor environment. And then another reference to the circular shape in the artwork, including field condition, the petri dish, and the Tamagotchi principle as the grid layout.
I think we have a question as we flip through some of these related to how long it will take us to install this piece. That's a great question. Yeah. And Martha, I don't know if you have an update from Jason on his side, but from a schedule perspective, this will go in with the bridge connecting both Terra and Hydro. This will actually come in with the Hydro completion. So we want to make sure that that building is far enough along that there wouldn't be a lot of disruption during our installation process. So that building opens in November of 2022. So we'll be closer to that end of the schedule. But with each artist, we've worked with them related to the opening of the buildings and then reverse engineered back to how long they'll need for their install.
So installations at this scale are usually going to go pretty quickly within a few days because everything is pre-assembled. So it's like a modular system. So it's put together on site. But it's all been cut and the pieces fit together. So the on-site installation might actually be faster than you think because of the time that's put in to measure twice and cut once, if you will. So we're doing on-site, it's just the assembly and putting everything up. This, not only did we talk about the light patterns moving, but we'll also have color, just a slow color wave shifting. So the low humidity and low temperature perspective will have a slower moving light circular pattern, cooler colors. And then if it's high humidity out, you could see this moving to a higher density, light pattern, faster moving, and warm colors. And this just gives you a sense of what that looks like. So if it's high humidity, you might see lots of circles, fast moving. And then if it's low humidity, they get a little bit slower and they're moving a bit more slowly around the circular base. And same with temperature, warm to cool in coloration. Well, I'm going to breeze through this part because I do. Oh, look, here we go.
There you go.
Installation, we're going live. So installation and commissioning, this is getting everything shipped over, ship and prep 2 weeks, and then installation and getting everything ready on site 4 weeks. And I bet you anything it goes faster than that because all of the pieces will be prepped and ready to go up. All right. And that's Jason Bruges from London. And now we're going to shift over and look at the site as you are coming from the National Western Center, walking towards the Spur campus. This will be the piece that you see in the Northeast Plaza facade. And the one we were just looking at is that bridge up here. And this is going to be the facade over to the right. And we have an artist collective. Oops. An artist collective. And I did not get any recent updates from them, but I was curious, Ashley, if you had any notes from this team on their installation.
Not any new updates, Martha.
And the opening date for this building
is January
of
this year.
January. So
Yeah.
the installation on this building is going to be a series of cut wood, and the image that you see on the right, this horse figure, is going to be on the outside of the building. And the way that the dimension is created is the farther pieces are the deeper shapes. So these darker pieces are the ones that stick out a little bit farther. And as you get closer to the wall of the building, they're shorter cut panels. So this is outside the building where you'll see equine therapy. The equine pool is in this location. Also, the partnership with Dumb Friends League. So the focus on animal health in this building will be reflected not only on the interior, but on the outside of the building as well in this artwork. And the next one that we're going to see, we actually have a video update for. That's the plaza right out here as you come across Betty Cram Drive into the CSU Spur campus. And this is a local artist, Patrick Merrill. And I wonder, Corey, are you able to share that video?
Yes, I can share that video.
Great.
That's the one that Ashley sent me?
Yes.
Perfect.
This is the installation that is reminiscent of hay bale.
Yeah. Do we have sound, Corey? Well, even if we don't have sound, okay, we can tell you what's happening.
Let's try this one again.
Okay.
Do you guys hear that? No?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Hold on. Pause 1 quick second.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's try this again. Can you hear it now?
I think it's
Yes.
always I mean, make something that will exist locally near where I've lived and grown up and spent the majority of my life. This piece is really, it started with a drawing. It was very gestural with these loops and these continuous lines creating this kind of barrel form. I roll these arcs with a tubing roller. They're actually solid stainless rod, so it's quite a bit of weight when it's finished. And then we just place them. I have this wood frame, this armature that everything is wrapped around to keep it consistent, and that will be removed. And you'll just have this great skin made up of all these lines, similar to my drawing. I do want people to interact with it and treat it as almost an architectural volume or space. I want them to get up close to it, feel it, to walk around it. Something that you would go inside and maybe ruminate on just the light that's coming through. I think it'll be a playful piece. To have this in Denver for CSU at the National Western Complex, I mean, that's special for me.
Awesome. So that's Patrick Merrill. So you'll see we've got local artists involved in the mix as well. And here's just a couple of photos from his studio of this piece coming together in progress. His former studio was actually really close to the campus, so fun to have that connection of him in the neighborhood as well. And then the backyard. So the artist selected here is also a local artist. Her name is Nikki Pike, and she's creating a series of wave-like shapes where people can come and get a break in shade and enjoy some time in the backyard, maybe playing hide and seek, and a more playful element with these structures that have almost this kind of arcing crescent wave effect in a few areas of pathway throughout the backyard. So in one of the larger plazas, you'll see 5 of them displayed. A smaller walkway has 3, and then one of the smaller pathways has another 3 of her sculptures displayed. And then here's a slight turn to elevation so that you can see them and how far they rise out of the ground. These are about 5.5, 6 feet high on the tallest point.
So Nikki has been a lot of fun to work with. We have modified a little bit about the backyard and the storytelling piece of this. As many of you may know, we're a headwater state. And so what we wanted to be able to do was tell the importance of that and the importance of water through Colorado, in addition to those that we serve outside of Colorado as a headwater state. And so working with Nikki, we actually were able to think about the orientation of each of these so that it's going the appropriate way based on what side of the divide that you're on and by which watershed it's reflective of. So another way that we've integrated art into the storytelling and the science of the backyard and what it means to be a headwater state.
So cool how Nikki tied in that sculpture to the connection to water. And then the next artist that we want to share with you is Anthony Garcia. And he's creating a mural, a large-scale mural piece that will be a part of the transition from the streetscape into the backyard. So the design that he's come up with is this blue pattern based on colors of water and that reference to water. But his designs generally come from a really interesting Indigenous heritage, and they're all based on community activations and community involvement. So he runs a group called Birdseed Collective, and that group is going to be involved in creating this work, and his nonprofit will have community members from the Irwin-Swansea neighborhood being a part of the actual creation of this mural. And I know we're talking about a lot of artists today, so I did want to mention, went through a couple really fast. I did want to mention that I gave to Corey a link because we have looked so far at a number of artists ranging from Jason Bruges in London to Norman Lee, to Nikki Pike and Patrick Merrill and Anthony Garcia, who are all local. And there is a link that CSU Spur put together where you can learn more about each of the artists. So we'll share that for you in the chat so you can learn more about them and follow along. And now jumping to the interior, a couple of artists on the interior selected. Eric Tillinghast, who's working on a large fountain piece. I understand that the architects are maybe questioning how we mount this fountain installation, so we're looking for updates on that. An interior artwork from Sandra Fettingus is going to go in the building that's focused on food discovery, and her installation is a hanging volume based on a display of wheat. You can see it in the background. For Sandra, also done in this green and gold pattern referencing back to CSU's colors. And then lastly, we have Priscilla Di Carvalho, and she's creating an installation of animals. These are all going to be displayed as ceramic tiles in the stairwell in the building based on animal research. So you'll see this is an outline of the shape of the stairs, and then her installation of the animals will be going up. And it was really fun because we have little kittens involved. Oh my gosh, do you remember the name of her kitten? She said it in the interview that
Millie.
Yes, our little kitten
Yes.
named Millie is there. That's her kitten right here, her little cat. So there's a number of different animals displayed, but definitely something for everyone, and a cool nod to Colorado with the Columbines, and a nod to the Dumb Friends League with their partnership in this building. And I'll let Ashley jump in and fill in any gaps where I've left off. Thank you so much for tuning in. I wanted to make sure we got to our stop at 15 minutes after, but I know that was a lot to digest, so feel free to ask any questions. And Ashley, please chime in with any additional notes or comments that I might have skipped through.
Sure. I think the only thing that I would add is that while these are really large installation pieces, we do have art studios that are part of the project. And so we will have an artist in residence, as well as opportunities for students from all of our campuses to participate. And that will be a mix of art, so visual, but performance art and music as well as partnering with some of our neighbors to make sure that we've got like a really nice, well-rounded group, and that we can use some of their professional artists to help mentor and coach some of our students. And so we'll have a lot of interior art opportunities as well. And then the question about what did we name all of the animals? So Millie was the inspiration. And she's definitely continued to inspire us in a couple different ways in some of the K through 12 interactive exhibit opportunities within the buildings. And we actually are going to have, we're going to open it up to the community to help us name the rest of the animals so that we can get some community participation from all of the neighborhoods with Globeville, Elaria, and Swansea. So I'll have all of the GES community be able to participate in naming the rest of our animals. So we do have a 9-foot kitten sculpture, which I think crosses over between art and exhibit. That is in the entry of our Vita building, and that kitten needs a name. So we will be engaging everybody to help us find a name for our kitten. Okay, so.
We're taking suggestions if anyone has a name for a giant kitten sculpture.
Oh, do we have a favorite exhibit that's coming to Spur? Ooh, Martha, do you have a favorite one out of these art installations?
Well, one of the things that I was learning about in some of the initial discovery in the buildings that are exploring food sciences and food health, in that building, one of the concepts was tasting. And so can we teach kids not only to grow their own food, but can you have like some areas where you can actually taste some things or cook? And to me, that is a pretty exciting component because I know that some kids might not even realize where food comes from or how it gets made or what certain plants look like. So I think tying plants back to the things that fuel our health is pretty cool. And that's going to be a part of the display on campus. Yeah,
that's great. I can't pick a favorite because I work really closely on all of them. So it's like picking a favorite child. So I love them all equally. There's some that I definitely think have been a lot of fun, where I've learned a ton as we've developed the content for the exhibits. And so I'm excited to see everybody get a chance to interact. We've made them incredibly interactive. And so it's not just panels of reading. It's really engaging all of our visitors, regardless of age, to interact and learn in each of the buildings. So I'm excited about that. There's definitely some that I really am excited about though. But I'm not going to tell you because everyone just needs to come and visit, and then you can pick your own favorite.
Oh, unrelated to Spur, what is the art that is hanging behind me? Well, there are a few, and you might be asking about this in this piece right here. well, just in time for Halloween, I like to put my skull guy up. This is a painting by a professor named Alvin Gregorio. And the image is this face, right? This skull face. And he has these soft, colorful yarn balls all around him, like blanketing him, which is just kind of this funny juxtaposition. Like, why would a skeleton need a blanket? But maybe he's still there. And then you'll see there's some text that goes across the painting, and the text says Bahala Na. And Bahala Na is a Filipino saying, and it's a phrase that means to have a fatalistic attitude towards life or a determined one in the face of challenge. And I love that phrase because I think it really embodies this idea that you can choose how you respond to situations, no matter how difficult they are.
I love that. Yes, so I'm answering the question here. So will the art exhibit, will we have a day that's associated with art? So yes, we plan to do both guided and then self-guided art experience tours. And then I think that we most definitely will have a day in which and probably more than a day, that we open up our studios so that you can do both an art tour and walk, but then you can also interact with our artists that will have their studio spaces there. And get a chance to interact with them and ask questions and see what they're working on. So,
I also want to kind of snowball off of that comment too. Is we will be hosting CSU alumni night outs at Spur once all of the buildings open, where we will be doing tours with alumni as well too.
That's great. And Corey, we are still doing tours. And so anyone that's interested in coming on a tour, it is an active construction site. So if you love that kind of thing, it is really neat. The buildings change every day. It's fascinating to see how much changes, especially just like within a week. So if anyone is interested in taking a tour, we do have a sign up, and I know that Corey's got access to be able to do that. And we are more than happy to host an alumni group through Spur.
Yep. On that note, I don't have any more questions that came through the comments. So with that, we could totally end tonight's presentation. Again, Ashley and Martha, thank you so much for doing this tonight. I know when I say that I talk about the entire alumni population is super excited that Spur campus is opening, and we can't wait for tours on campus and seeing the actual final product of everything. So again, thank you so much for being here tonight and presenting. And again, to all of the alums that came in on StreamYard as well as YouTube, thank you so much for taking the time to come out and learn more about what's going on with Spur. On that note, thank you so much, and go Rams.
Go Rams.
Go Rams. Thank you. Thanks, Corey.
Good night.